Can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Where are you?
I'm in the Bronx, New York.
Cool.
And you're in LA, I
He's
presume?
just hanging out here. Okay. So he's hanging out in the Bronx. What's your name?
I'm Daniel.
Daniel. So Daniel is hanging out in the Bronx in New York, and I'm hanging out in LA. Okay. I'm going to hang out in the kitchen. How does this work, Daniel? I've got no idea what's supposed to happen.
You click the start broadcast button, so we're going live now, so we can just get started if you like.
Let's do it.
All right. Cat Deeley, congratulations on your Emmy nomination for Best Reality Host for So You Think You Can Dance. It's your 4th straight nomination, and the show is nominated again for Reality Competition Series. What do you think is the key to the show's longevity over the years?
I think the thing is, our dancers are incredibly talented. They're absolutely amazing, and I think every year they've raised the bar every single year. And I also think it's down to the production team too. You know, they're brilliant at telling people's stories and making that real human element of the show come to life. You know, dance is the narrative that runs through the show, but essentially the audience like to connect with people on a very human level, and I think that's what people really love. And then thirdly, I think it's down to the audience who watch the show. You know, we've been, as you rightly said, it's been 11 seasons now, and we've never been as big as, you know, ratings wise as American Idol or anything like that, but we do very nicely, and we seem to have this like core audience that are so passionate about the show and never miss an episode, know every single dancer's name, knows all the choreographers, everybody. And they just never miss an episode. And it tends to be our show is a real divider of people, because you either love the show and never miss an episode, or it's not on your radar and you don't even know we exist. So it's because of those people that are so passionate about the show that we're still going all those years later.
Now, the interesting thing about the show, unlike most reality show Emmy contenders that, you know, usually they take the summers off, you're in the middle of doing live shows right now in the middle of Emmy season. How do you and the show and producers like balance the demands of the show with, you know, the Emmys coming up? Are you going to have a chance to go this year?
Yeah, definitely. I was actually just doing an interview earlier this morning with Tim Gunn, and we were saying, because we're both nominated for the same award too, so we've already agreed to meet each other at the Creative Emmys, because ours is in that show. We've agreed to meet each other for a glass of champagne at the Marriott Hotel across the way before. So we're definitely going to go. But it's such a I mean, it's lovely to be nominated. It's so exciting. You know, particularly with me coming from England to do the show, I saw it and I loved it, and I thought, you know, I thought it would be a success, but you never know. You can only kind of go with your gut and with your head and go, okay, I think this is going to be a success. I want to be a part of it. But you never know if it's going to be. And so for me to have the show going 11 seasons later, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine it would be going for 11 seasons. So although an Emmy is absolutely lovely, and don't get me wrong, I'm so excited about it, and the expectations of frocks and diamonds and glasses of champagne and fun and gossiping and catching up with people I rarely see is lovely. But for me, the real life-changing thing is the show, and the fact that we've been going for it's completely changed my life. I'm sitting here in LA and I'm having such a lovely time, and I'm so lucky to be able to share it with friends and family of mine too, and that to me is what's so exciting.
Well, speaking of those frocks and diamonds, you know, is that a big part of every year you deciding what to wear for the Emmys? Do you have ideas in mind already?
Yeah, there's definitely we definitely start thinking about it. But I normally turn the whole process into something quite fun. Like last year, my mom and dad were here, so my mom took part in it, and so does my manager, who's my best friend, and they all sit on the bed and drink glasses of wine and have nibbles, and everybody's got an opinion, and we just make it really fun, you know, because then it's one of those things then where whether you win or not, you've had so much fun doing it that who cares? You know what I mean? It's like normally what happens on the day of the Emmys is I take everybody out for a brunch at the Peninsula. So we go for a big brunch and have the nicest time. You know, if you can have a nice time going along the way, then you can just enjoy every minute of the experience. But yeah, I'm looking at a few things right now. Matthew Williamson is a great friend of mine, so I'm talking to him, and Christopher Bailey from Burberry. I'd quite like to fly the flag for Great Britain too, in maybe what I wore. I don't know yet, but it's fun.
Last year, So You Think You Can Dance had an especially strong presence at the Emmys since the nominees for Best Choreography, those were presented during the telecast for the first time, and they choreographed interpretive dances for the Emmy telecast, and several choreographers from So You Think You Can Dance were nominated and participated in that. What did you think of those dance routines on the Emmy show?
I thought they were fantastic. I mean, what I loved about them is the fact that it was all different choreographers. That's my phone ringing. If that's Tim Gunn, tell him to order a bottle, not a glass. You know what? It was great the fact that it was people from Dancing with the Stars and different choreographers and Derek Huff and Travis Wall. I mean, for me, the other big thing was seeing Travis Wall up there being nominated for his choreography. You know, he was a contestant on season 2. He didn't win the show, and he's gone on to become this amazing choreographer who, on a regular basis, blows my mind and gives me chills and makes the hairs on my arms stand on end. And now he's being nominated for an Emmy too. For me, that's a lovely thing to see, where you take somebody and you elevate them and you put them on a stage in front of other people and you give them an opportunity, and then they grab it with both hands and they run with it.
Now, you've hosted an award show before. You hosted the Critics' Choice Awards in 2011, and and they've had reality hosts on occasion host the Emmys. So, if you ever had the opportunity and it ever fit into the schedule, would you ever want to host the Emmys?
Yeah, I think it would be a great fun show to do. I mean, I never in my wildest dreams imagined I would ever even be at the Emmys, let alone nominated for an Emmy, let alone nominated 4 times, let alone host them. So, I mean, for me, it's like my little brain might explode. It might just become all a little bit too much. But, yeah, of course. And who knows, then maybe I could do several dress changes through the whole course of proceedings and therefore have all the more fun.
Yeah, Emmy hosts and awards hosts, especially women, when they host, they definitely get their fair share of wardrobe changes. You might not have to choose. You might just be able to get your pick of everything.
Well, I once hosted the Brit Awards actually, which is like your Grammys back in England, and I think I changed about 8 times there. I remember one time 50 Cent was in my dressing room and we kind of had to knock him out of the way because I was like scurrying and taking things off, I was like, Philly, get out of the way. So he was loitering in my dressing room because I think he got a quick change or something, or he was performing with somebody. So that was kind of hilarious because I think I got about 45 seconds to do it. And first of all, we had to move 50 Cent and his 8 security guards out of the way, with this mad bonkers English girl like stripping off in the meantime.
Isn't that just like everyday problems, having to knock 50 Cent out of the way so you can change for an award show?
You know what? Hashtag you gotta be there.
You do a live show of So You Think You Can Dance every Wednesday, but that's all we, the audience, usually really see about what goes into the show. What's the typical week look like in preparation for every live show? I mean, because it must be more, certainly, than what we see on the night of.
Yeah, I mean, for the kids, there's an awful lot more that goes into it. You know, they go meet the choreographers for the first time, and then they have, I think it's like 2 or 3 hours to rehearse. It's not very long. And then they're in today as well, so they'll do a rehearsal on the stage today, and then hair and makeup will go in and talk to the choreographers and see what they want to do there and costume. Um, and then we do a dress rehearsal tomorrow before the show. I get in about 12:30. We do a dress rehearsal, and then I go into hair and makeup, and then we are live at 5, done by 8, done at 7, dinner by 8.
No, it's interesting. Since the Emmys created the reality host category a few years ago, only one time has it been won by the host of a live show, Tom Bergeron for Dancing with the Stars a couple of years ago. Do you think voters maybe take for granted the work that goes into hosting the live show?
I think probably they do, but I think it's a good thing because it then means you're doing your job properly. If you can do, because the whole thing is you should be very swan-like as a live host. So on the outside, you should look as though you're having the greatest time and just everything's just happening smoothly. And even if mistakes happen, we just laugh about it and we go on with it, and it endears you to the audience and it's fine. But underneath, you're paddling like mad because you're like, okay, I need to move this person over here. I need to talk to this camera then. I need to move this on. What's my timings? Okay, how can I come off air on time? So you're doing a bit of that thing. So it should look easy, and it should be taken for granted. So that means I'm doing a good job.
Now, for Emmy consideration this year, you submitted the episode Top 20 Dancers Perform from last summer, and that episode also had Wayne Brady as a guest judge. Did you choose that episode yourself? Were producers involved in the decision? How do you go about it?
I just remembered having a really, really lovely time with Wayne Brady and really joking around with it, and him talking about dancing with a white girl and doing the happy dance and all the rest of it. So the dancing was amazing in that episode, but there was also a lovely chemistry between Wayne and myself, because obviously as well he's an amazing comedian, you know, so he's very quick and he's very sharp and he throws the ball back at you as quickly as you throw it at him. And I just remembered it being a great episode and really enjoying it. And then I saw it and I thought, oh yeah, okay, this is a good one. Because I don't think there's any point in just submitting an episode where it's just kind of straight links to camera and it's just you doing ordinary. It's all those off the cuff moments, I think, that people find charming.
That episode ended. The last performance of that episode was by Amy Yakima and Fiction. And after they performed, you said they gave you the first chills of the season, and they ended up winning. So did you know from that point forward, yeah, these two are going to win?
I knew they'd be good. I knew that they'd be in with a really good chance because I remembered them both as having really, really lovely personalities. And being funny and charming and charismatic and self-deprecating and all those great things. So I knew they were in with a chance. I mean, my thing is I don't know technically too much about dancing, but I do know when somebody's got great personalities, and that's the thing about our show is it you know, we're looking for America's favorite dancer. We're not necessarily looking for the best technical dancer. So I knew due to their personalities that they would be popular, and I knew they worked hard, and then add to that they are incredible dancers too. I wouldn't say I would 100, but I knew they'd be down to like our top 4.
In addition to Wayne Brady, you mentioned you had a good chemistry with him. You also do have a playful rapport with the other judges, Nigel Lithgow, Mary Murphy. Do they keep you on your toes every week?
Oh, yes. Goodness gracious. Absolutely. I never know what's going to be said next. Yeah, have cheese. It's my makeup artist. She just brought out a hunk of Jarlsberg. I'm like, yeah, ordered, have cheese. Yeah, they always do. I mean, you never know what's going to come out of Nigel's mouth next. You never know what's going to happen with Mary Murphy, apart from it will be enthusiastic either way. And then we have some great guest judges as well. You know, we have Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who is absolutely incredible. I love him with every molecule of my being. And Lady Gaga, she once threw an Alexander McQueen armadillo shoe at me, which, by the way, they're about this big and like a house brick, so I had to dodge that. And the one time, I remember Nigel, the one time, It was when we did the eliminations at the end of the show. The one day they weren't back in their seats after the commercial break, and I was a bit thinking, oh, what's going to happen here? And by that point, I'm on timings as well, so I have to bring the show off air at 0. And it made me a bit I was a bit nervous about it. And then when I said, so Nigel, you're back in your seats, the judges have deliberated, do you have a decision? And he went, no, Cat, we don't. And I was a bit like, okay, what's happening? And he went, no one's going home. Now, he could have told me that during the commercial break, right? But instead, he decided to tell it me live on air, and so we basically then had to call the show, and I went, okay, what would you like to do now? He's like, well, shall we see them dance again? I went like this and went, shall we see them dance again? The person in my ear went, yes. I went, okay, is the music ready? The person in my ear went, yes. And we went, okay, and we just made it up as we went along. And afterwards, I was so angry with him. I pinned him against the wall, and I was like, let go. Why I order? And he's like, oh, it's fine. You can handle it. Don't worry about it. I was like, no, I know I can, but I would have loved to have known about it during the commercial break.
And it's interesting, the Emmys now have category for reality hosts, but judges are also such a major part of the dynamic of the show, and certainly a major part of the dynamic of your show. Do you think they deserve their own Emmy category too?
I don't see why not. The only problem is, though, then that's making Emmys so long. The Emmys are already they're like this. They're like War and Peace. They're the War and Peace of any award show. Like, it goes on forever. We could start giving out awards every single day from last year, and we still wouldn't be finished this year, if we just gave out one a day. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that the judges are an absolutely brilliant part of the show. Maybe they should.
And then you've got the contestants too. I mean, on performance-based shows like yours, they're not only competing for themselves, they're entertaining the audience week after week. Maybe they deserve some kind of awards recognition too.
Yeah, but it would be so difficult to judge who was more worthy to win. You know what I mean? Because it's like all the different mediums. So you could be the best at designing, or the best at dance, or the best at singing. Like, how would you? I don't know how you do it. I think maybe you're better to just give them the title of being the best at what they do, and then not compare them to each other, maybe.
Last year, you had Aaron Turner, who was a tap dancer, and he made history by becoming the first tap dancer to make the finals. Yeah. But he only made the top 20, as an alternate, substituting for another contestant who was injured. Yeah. Did success come as a surprise?
It was a little bit. I mean, you could, because you never know when somebody comes and fills somebody else's place. You just don't know. And it was Emilio, who was on last year, that got kicked in the nose, and then he came back this year. So it's swings and roundabouts a little bit. Yeah, I guess it kind of was. But I think that what was so charming about Aaron was he kind of looked like a New York mechanic. He looked as though he could be in like a Scorsese movie. You know what I mean? Like, he's this big, tough kind of guy. And then he could tap dance like Fred Astaire. And I think people quite enjoyed that. The fact that he did look very different. He was the oldest contestant on the show. He was he wasn't like our normal contestant. You know what I mean? He was different. I think people really enjoy that.
You've been hosting a dance show now for several years. If the opportunity ever came to dance yourself, like if Dancing with the Stars maybe came calling, do you think you'd take that offer?
Definitely not. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely awful. I have 2 left feet. I have no control over my flailing limbs. I'm pretty bad. If I go out on a night out, of course I'm dancing on the dance floor, or if I'm at a wedding, I love a good wedding dance and being twirled around on the dance floor. But And I'm lucky because my husband's a really good dancer, and he's really good at like spinning you around and leading you and dipping you and doing the whole thing. So he's amazing at that. So I always feel better than I am. But I don't think America needs to see it in general. I think they would bleed from their eyes.
Well, in addition to So You Think You Can Dance last season, you also had a role, a change of pace in the Hulu comedy series Deadbeat.
Yes.
What was that experience like, compared to something so different like hosting, a reality show?
It was so different. I mean, for me, I approached it with a little trepidation. This is my day job. So You Think You Can Dance is my day job. But I wasn't sure, I wasn't completely confident. I was going into the unknown and doing something different. And I think that's actually really healthy for a human being to turn around and do something that maybe is a little bit scary, that slightly unnerves you and gets you a little bit on edge. Because I think that's when some of the best things can happen in your life, So for me, it was a real challenge, and I really wanted to be professional, and I really learnt my lines and did the whole thing. And then it was kind of impossible for me to say no to, because it was with the director is a guy named Troy Miller, who did Dumb and Dumber and does amazing Arrested Development, amazing comedies, things that I really admire. And then we had some great writers on as well, called Brett and Cody, who'd done Wilfred, and they're just like really, really funny. And then Tyler Labine was the main guy in it, who he essentially plays this real society dropout. He can't pay his rent. He eats rubbish food. He can't hold down a job. His best mate is his drug dealer, but he can talk to ghosts. And so he just has this ability, Tyler, where you shouldn't even like him, and yet he makes you fall in love with him. And so with all these different things that were going to be part of the process, it was like, well, even if I'm really frightened and a bit scared, I kind of got to do it, because otherwise I'm going to kick myself. It was with Lionsgate, Brad Pitt's production company, and I would have been silly not to. So I did it, and I got to play a real baddie, which is really, really, really good fun. It was really fun, actually. So there's a second season, and we're talking about whether we can fit it in the diary and do all the rest of it, but I would love to.
Oh, well, congratulations on that, and congratulations again on the Emmy nomination coming up next month. The awards are being handed out a little earlier than usual this year, so fingers crossed.
Absolutely. That red carpet is going to be sweltering.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Nice to speak to you.